Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and this video is part 2 of my fragrance collection, fragrances I bought in 2020. This is a designer one, so all the designer perfumes I bought in 2020 that I still have, the ones that made the cut that didn't get decluttered. I've got, I think I just counted 14, 15, I've forgotten. There's a few here. The first few I'm going to do, you might not consider them designer, but I've decided to be very specific in the categorizing. So a designer perfume, for the sake of this video, is a perfume released by a house that makes clothes predominantly, a fashion house, except there is actually one in here. There's just one. Yeah. There's one in here that doesn't make clothes, but we'll get to that. Apart from that, all of these are designers, albeit they might be considered more of a niche or high-end part of the designer line. So first of all then, Whispers in the Library from Maison Margiela. It's actually got sweetie hairs. Oh, you can't see. It's got sweetie hairs stuck. Maybe you'll see it. Oh, whatever. It's got sweetie hairs stuck on the cloth bit round its neck because sweetie hairs get everywhere in this house. Whispers in the Library. I bought this one because Lizzie over at the channel Rose and Jones sent me a sample. I had been very interested. I wanted to try it. I wasn't expecting to love it. Actually, I really do love it. Ultimately, it's a woody vanilla. It feels to me like it's got a little bit of a spice. It's supposed to smell like a library. I wouldn't really say that. It doesn't really smell dusty. It doesn't really smell exactly like old books, but it does have a bit of a papery feel. I think they go there to a degree. But for me, actually, it reminds me of another fragrance in my collection that I love. When you get to the dry down, it smells a bit like Iris Ganache off of Guerlain, which is a very expensive and very, very difficult to find perfume. So if you love that perfume and you can't get hold of it, I do really recommend you try Whispers in the Library. It seems to share some common components. Perhaps the vanilla-iness, perhaps the woodsiness, perhaps the spiciness. Not entirely sure, but it's not immediately obvious to me. It's when you get to the dry down of this, I'm reminded of Iris Ganache. So really pleased with that purchase. Now, you may consider this high-end designer, and it's also discontinued. It's Elie Saab's Essence No. 1 Rose. Love, love, love this, as it's pretty much a Soliflor rose, but on a rich kind of ambery base. Only rose is listed as a note, but to me it is a bit sweetened up, it is a bit jammy, and it does feel like it's on a sort of ambery, maybe a labdanum kind of base. It's all about the rose, but the rose is very much supported. There is depth in here. This is not a simple fresh rose. This is not the rose of your shower gels and hand creams that you find aimed or marketed at the older generation. It's nothing like that. So I love that. So the one that you might not consider to be a designer, but you will find this brand always on the shelves with the designer perfumes. So I see it as designer. They don't make clothes, they make beauty products and makeup and skincare. Makeup and skincare, and it's Guerlain. And I've bought several backup bottles of my Insolence this year. It's one of my, if not my favourite perfume, probably my favourite in the mass market genre, seeing as I can't really call it designer, but I'm putting it here in the designer category. My Insolence, I've spoken about it on numerous occasions. So I bought several backup bottles of this year. I've probably emptied about 3 bottles actually. So it really is very well loved and well worn by me. For me, it's a musky almond vanilla scent with a little bit of a floral, a little bit fresh in the opening, but it's more for me about the muskiness, the almond note, the vanilla, and it's for me very classy, very well put together. It is sweet, but it's not too sweet. I always feel like me, I feel like me on a good day when I wear this one. This is the most me perfume that I've ever found. So it's My Insolence, not to be confused with Insolence. This one only comes as an EDT. The bottle can come in a couple of different guises. This one is clear all the way around here. Other bottles I've had have been white. It's been white all the way around here. But it must say My Insolence for it to be this one, and it is entirely and completely different to the original Insolence. Just in case, because some people have accidentally bought the wrong one after watching my video, and I always feel sort of guilty for that. It's hard to find, but you keep searching, you will eventually find one at a decent price. You have to keep your eyes peeled. So the rest now are all very much designer. And so I've got I bought a lot of designer perfumes in the summer. I was bored, couldn't go out and test perfumes, and therefore just bought a ton, blind buys. A lot of them are gone, got rid of them. I don't need cheap, easy to reach fragrances. There were plenty of decent fragrances I bought that any normal person would be happy with, but for me, I don't want to keep stuff I'm not really going to reach for. So I got rid of a lot of the things I bought in the summer, but a couple have stuck around that I think that are excellent. This one is Prada Candy Gloss. I spoke about it quite a lot in the summer, and I think this is a really good choice to wear in the summer if you want something that's a bit fresh but also got some sweetness to it. It's supposed to smell a bit like lipstick. I think there's some vanilla in here. It might not be listed, but I'm sure I get it. And I can't remember what else. Spray it in the air. I haven't worn this in a long time because we are in the middle of winter. It's very fruity, it's a cherry, it's a bit syrupy, but it's fresh at the same time. And it does kind of remind you more of a cherry chapstick than an actual lipstick. But it's a fun, frivolous, spray away on a hot sunny day or any kind of warmish day. It doesn't have to be warm for it, and in fact some people might find it too sweet for that, but for me this was a summer fragrance and I loved it in the summer. Another fresh, frivolous, summer, easy to reach scent is Daisy. Oh so fresh, Twinkle. This one was one I had to track down, took me a little while. It's discontinued. I do like a discontinued gem, and this one is not that far removed from the original Oh So Fresh. So if you like that and you have that, I don't think you should waste your energy desperately hunting this down. This, it's difficult to really explain how it differs. I can't remember what the difference in the notes are. There's a beautiful violet in here. It's violet, but it's fruity and fresh. There's citruses. It's just fun, pretty. So I'm not one I reach for massively. Again, much more of a summer scent for me. One of those, just chuck it on to walk down the shops kind of fragrances. Not one I necessarily reach for a special occasion, although there's no reason why I couldn't. It's just that I would choose something a little more bougie because I'm a snob. But I really actually enjoy that. It's just fun. It's so fun. One of my friends smelt this one and asked that I track her a bottle down because she loved it so much. So it's a very appealing scent, and we did manage to find her one. So that's Marc Jacobs Daisy Oh So Fresh Twinkle. Now this is just a little 30ml. It had a bit more in it when I bought it, but I did buy it secondhand partial, and it's Paris Eau de Parfum. So it's Yves Saint Laurent Paris Eau de Parfum. Previously I've only ever had the Eau de Toilette. I know this fragrance very well from when I was younger. I had the Eau de Toilette, and the Eau de Toilette is fantastic. This is not that far removed from it. It's just maybe slightly less fresh and a bit richer, but it's not a particularly rich fragrance. It is still fresh. It's got sandalwood in there to round out the base, but it's a very fresh rose violet, and I think it's probably a bergamot or some sort of citrus accord in the opening to give it that burst of freshness. It's a really pretty, very young kind of fragrance, although It's a very old fragrance in that it's been out many, many years, but not many people really talk about it or wear it. If you are a fan of the violet note in particular, I would urge you to track it down. It's not difficult to find, and I would say don't worry about whether you get the EDT or the EDP, just go for whatever is in your budget and is accessible to you. Rose, violet, fresh, but actually quite good lasting power. Even the EDT is really good. So I really like this as a fun, frivolous, but it's also nostalgic. I remember my mum having it, and I remember having it myself and loving it. So Paris, kind of bought that more for nostalgic reasons than necessarily wearing, but still love to smell it. Jean Paul Gaultier, now we've got Scandal à Paris. This did feature in quite a few videos. Another, for me, summery scent, honey, flowers. Is it orange blossom? It smells like orange blossom, but it's actually jasmine that's listed. I think they only list 3 notes. Jean Paul Gaultier seem to be doing that a lot lately. Only list 3 notes actually on this bottle. It's a tester and it lists 2 notes, honey and jasmine. I would say that there's some citruses in here because it's kind of fresh. It smells like orange blossom and jasmine to me. And it is honeyed, but it doesn't smell like thick glutinous honey. It's honeyed. It's like the floral, the petals are dripped in honey. But it's fresh, it's not too sweet. So this is a summer night perfume or even a summer day, but it could be a bit cloying for some really hot days. Scandal à Paris, legs akimbo, as I used to like to say. It's a really great, easy grab and go summer perfume. The sort of thing I'd spray again just to go to get groceries, to go to an appointment, to run around and, you know, not do anything in particular, but you could totally wear it on a date. You could wear it to a picnic, you can wear it out with your friends. It's just a very easy, very lovely perfume. Another Jean Paul Gaultier that I made quite a bit of noise about in 2020 is La Belle. I actually got through a 50ml bottle very quickly. And then I went and got this 100ml tester, and the novelty kind of wore off a little bit. So that's why I haven't used loads of it. I mean, it's still quite a big dent though, considering. But this one is it's quite simple. I see it as a bit of a guilty pleasure fragrance, really. It's sugary. When you first spray it, it's very, very sweet. And I remember I tried it in a shop like ages ago. Let's spray it. I tried it in a shop. And I immediately thought, no, that's too sweet. That's not really for me. And then I heard so much about it on YouTube. And then my friend Lizzie at Rose & Jones sent me a sample of it. And I tried it on, I finally actually tried it on my skin. And I realised that it doesn't stay as sweet as it opens up. It doesn't stay as sugary as it opens up. And I really love the dry down, because the dry downs are really quite nice. It's kind of woody, addictive vanilla, but it's not overly sugary vanilla. It actually feels like I don't know if it's the woods that counteract the sweetness or what. And I think there's ambroxan in there that just gives it that addictive quality, but not to any strong degree. And I just found it so addictive. When I first sprayed it from the sample, I still thought like, oh, I don't need to own it. It's probably too generic for me. And then I just kept going back to the sample, and I drained the sample so quickly that I knew that I had to have the bottle. I bought the smaller bottle, and then I drained that to emptiness. So then I ended up with the bigger bottle. So there you go, my guilty pleasure. And even now, smelling it now, I know why I love it. It is so good, and it's La Belle Jean Paul Gaultier. If you don't know the notes, it's bergamot, pear and vetiver. No, if you don't know the notes, it's bergamot, pear and vanilla officially on Jean Paul Gaultier's website. On Fragrantica, they omit the bergamot and instead say vetiver. I did actually contact them, Jean Paul Gaultier, to confirm. They confirmed only the notes as per their own website. So vanilla, bergamot and pear. and they wouldn't confirm the ambroxan that I feel like I smell. But anyway, I also feel like there's orange blossom in there because it does, Classique, the original Classique, and lots of the flankers, most of the flankers do have orange blossom. It's kind of a signature. So I feel like that's in there as well. So it does feel more there than it says on the box. Now we have one house left, but I've got a few from the house. You could probably guess. If you know what the house is now, say it, comment. If not, I'm going to show you. So there you go. I wonder if I show you in chronological order. I don't. So the first one I got from this house, the first one I got from this range, so it's Miss Dior. The first one I got from the range was the Eau de Toilette. I bought that secondhand from a fragrant friend. And this is the 2019 version, so the most modern, the version you can get right now. And this to me is quite a bitter citrus with some floral. It's grapefruity to my nose, very sharp and fresh, summery, invigorating fragrance with a bit of floral. Not that exciting. Quite possibly I will declutter this one. So that's the current formulation, Miss Dior EDT. It's perfectly nice, but will I choose it over the rest of my fragrances in my collection? Probably not. Then we will go with, so I did have the current formulation Miss Dior Eau de Parfum, and I've decluttered it. I have sold it. I had a 150ml bottle. Loved the gigantic bottle, but it was pointless for me to keep it. I wasn't going to wear it. It's a very nice fragrance, but it's not quite my thing. It's quite heavy with the patchouli. For me, it's a rose and patchouli scent predominantly, quite Middle Eastern feeling, and it just wasn't my thing, so I've sold it. But then I did get the 2012, the version before it was reformulated to that version that I got rid of. I prefer this one. Very different, fresh, musky. You've got a mixture of citruses and white florals and a nice kind of musky bite to it. It's nice, it's really nice, but it's not 100% certain I'll be keeping that one either. Although it was a very much a grab and go fragrance and very versatile, and I do really like it. So I might keep it, I'm not sure. And then I had Miss Dior Cherie. This one is the 2008 version, I think, or is it the yeah. So this was the 2008 version, and it's slightly different from the 2012 Miss Dior, and it's also slightly different to the 2011 Miss Dior Cherie. The bottles are different because that's flat, that's indented, so that's another purchase. Not much in there, and it's only a 30ml. And I managed to get a hold of the original 2005 Miss Dior Cherie, which is slightly different again. And this is probably my favourite, but that might just be because I know it's the original. However, I could happily live without that and get by with that. The differences are very subtle, so very happy to have both. I'll be keeping and using both. I spray this one often, so I really do like it. And again, it's a very easy grab and go, but I wear it in this cold weather happily. Not that it's particularly rich, strong. It's still quite a fresh fragrance, but it's got a lovely muskiness to it. But it carries enough for me for just wandering around out, you know, if I do go outside, but happily just wear it indoors. Just love it. It's very easy to love. And then finally, from that range, I managed to track down some Miss Dior Extrait de Parfum. I must review this because there's not many reviews about, particularly on YouTube. I don't think there's any reviews in English. And this is, I believe, the current version, but luckily it smells more like the older 2012 Miss Dior than the new very heavy patchouli rose scent that's out now. So the only thing lacking in this is the performance. It's actually worse than the Eau de Parfums. It's very close to the skin after a couple of hours. Really, I'd only wear that for a 3-hour trip anywhere, and then it's gone. So I find myself more often wearing this to bed, which is kind of a waste because it was pretty expensive. It was, that's a 30ml, and it was 140 pounds ish with postage. That's buying it from eBay, from someone on eBay. It was brand new. So yeah, not cheap, considering that it doesn't really last that long, doesn't project that well, but it's so pretty. It's slightly different to all, well, it's more than slightly different to all the others. It's fruity, it's gourmandish. It's not quite, is it? Well, it's fresh. It's pinker. It smells pinker. It smells more like sweets, like fresh sweets, like a bag of Skittles or something, but in a good way. But it also has a little bit of a slightly bitter orange element to it. I really like it. It's not worth the money, absolutely not. I do not urge you to track one down. Don't waste too much energy and time. It's nice, but it's kind of, I don't need it. I don't need it. You probably don't either, but I like it and I'm keeping it, and I'm just going to use it. So there. So let me know, please, in the comments, what designer perfumes have you bought this year? What have been the highlights of your year from your fragrance purchases? And that's it then. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.